Interdimensional superstructure that binds everything and everyone in a cosmic goop. It's the Cosmic Glue Podcast.
Yes, welcome. My name's Jay. This is Rob. We'd like to introduce our new technician, and Jeffrey Hutchison over here. Hello.
What's up, Jeff?
What's up?
Yeah. So this is our first live podcast streaming. So our last one we kind of just kick things off. You want to just refresh us on what we were talking about, what the subject matter is kind of going to be about tonight?
Well, it's all about one love, one cosmic love, and so specifically we talked last episode about cosmism, Russian cosmism to be specific.
Now, you got to specify here now, people who are first hearing this, this has nothing to do with, Russian communism or cosmonauts. You have to pay attention to the wording of what it's about and how it's detailed.
This is all before communism, before cosmonauts, 1800s, late 1800s. Fedorov, father of Russian cosmism, worked as a librarian, and he admired museums, and he got the idea that, museums are a technology, and therefore extrapolated that we can preserve the past, and this will ultimately lead to us preserving human beings and the resurrection of human beings, and that was his ultimate scientific goal. He had these dreams in the 1800s, and it's an amazing thing, and like we were saying pre-show, this is all based on, inspired by the biblical prophecy. And these guys wanted to take and make real things in the Bible. They were inspired by a theology, and that's what we're going to get into in this episode, is theology and science fiction. This weird intersection of all these different things, like the title of the episode says, UFOs, aliens, portals, God. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk, because if we look at, I just want to say something right up front about a portal story that's in the New Testament, where the eunuch was baptized, and once he was baptized, the baptizer, when he came up out of the water, he found himself in a city on miles and miles and miles away. So what was that? Was there a portal that was opened up? Spiritual portal or whatever it was, opened up and moved. So, there's
portals. Multiverse, other dimensions,
other heavens.
Other heavens.
Right.
All of these worlds beyond worlds beyond worlds.
Right, and the main, from beginning to end of these scriptures is a love story. It's a love story written to everyone, and that is where it's at, to achieve that love. Well, this is one of the ways you get to achieve this one love.
One of the ways.
One of the ways.
This is and the selection today has theological examples across the spectrum, across the board. But this is what we're dealing with. This is what we have for the topic today. And as we were talking about cosmic love, one of the tropes or science fiction themes is going to be the divine cosmos. And this is an idea that's popular in many science fiction movies, Star Trek or Star Wars, to be specifically the Force. People compare it to Taoism, to the Tao, the way.
Right. Yes. As Mandalorian would say now, it is the way.
It is the way.
Yeah. So, I understand that. Okay.
But it's a very pantheistic, does that comport with how maybe you imagine God? Are you pantheistic? Are you panentheistic? Are you theistic? Are you transcendental? Or, do any of those words describe what you think God is God everything? Is God outside of everything? Is he both and?
And a lot of people struggle with that question. I mean, they have to reconcile and rationalize their higher power. They have to, no matter who it is, what is that to you? Well, my God, and since we're saying this, is the God who created everything, but yet he controls every single thing. He knows the outcome of it. All right? He knows the outcome of every single thing. I mean, shoot, he even tells every single blade of grass how tall to stand. You know? We decide how tall we want it to stand by cutting it. That's just my conception. Then there's other people who, we look at the Taoists, look at the Hindus, the Sumerians. Do we have multiple gods? I mean, look in Christianity, they're already talking about a trinity. Well, but that gets confusing. They say, oh no, there's 3 and 1 and 1 and 3 and 3. So you know what? They set that aside and say, okay, many gods. No, one God. So yeah,
many gods.
It's many gods.
And as the book brings up, thanks to shout out to James McGrath for writing a great book here, Theology and Science Fiction, which we're reviewing today. Gods as aliens. If you're having multiple gods, all these different stories and mythologies and folklore and stories, creation stories, dealing with multiple gods, are they ETs or are they something else? Where's the realm of the supernatural meet? They're different. I don't know. They're just different questions to ask about that kind of thing.
Right. Now, I've always said about the supernatural and the natural, they never can meet within this dimension, within our existence. They can only meet within your reality, because the supernatural and the natural, when they do meet, it will tear everything we realize in our reality apart. That's it. It's like someone having Jesus meet them or someone having an alien abduct them. That becomes your reality. I can't dispute
the
that.
Supernatural, though, so you would say the Star Wars model of a divine cosmos is probably wrong, because you're saying God isn't imbued in everything and doesn't, you're saying that the supernatural are completely separate from the natural. They're completely distinct things.
No. That's the way most will look at that. The scientists will say that the supernatural does not exist because we can't prove it with the natural, right? So the supernatural we say exists, but we have nothing natural to compare it to. Once those two becomes a reality, once you meet Jesus, once you meet a dead person, once you meet an alien, right, then that supernatural has now came into your reality and is now real for you. You have a ghost experience. An angel comes to you and saves you. Then the supernatural has become the natural in your reality. And until we all can experience that we know that it happens, they will never meet.
So it's always subjective experience.
Exactly. Now, but I will say about many gods, even Jesus said, the God of this world. Jesus admits there's many gods, and it's not about, an idol, this, and that. No, he talks about the God of this world, Lucifer,
So do you buy into that theory I've thrown at you before about the Urantia Papers, where it says that there's a rogue army and Lucifer's the general of Earth and it's a space opera and,
I would say that if you read the text of the scriptures, it's exactly what you're saying it is. It's totally exactly what you're saying it is. Lucifer is the one who is against God, wants to replace God. He has an army. God has an army. It says in Revelations they're coming back. And when they speak of the heavens and the battle in the skies and the heavens, they're speaking of a celestial battle in the heavens that we'll probably be able to watch the way it's described. So that's, it's Star Wars. It's just, this is the question, why would God, Jesus at this point, Emmanuel, I like to call him, why would he come back in Revelations with armies of angels? You see, so we have to look at that perspective. So he's bringing armies of angels to fight a war in the celestial arena against Lucifer and his minions. So, yeah, I mean, your perspective, we have to widen some things here. Now that we are on the cusp of being told that there is visitors, there is something observing us here. We can't deny that. We can't say that they're manned. Look, we send probes out. We sent a probe out with naked porn on it, and music, right? And it was unmanned. So most of the stuff could be unmanned stuff. But they're watching us. We can't deny that.
Yeah, it's certainly a UFO renaissance we're living during in terms of journalism and reporting and disclosure and government officials coming forward and looking to see where it goes. I mean, it seems to have reached some sort of tipping point, in terms of the public, and, it was very much a taboo thing, but there's a lot of people that are considering it now. I mean, I don't know. It makes sense also that it's a psyop and that it's a distraction from some other big thing that we should be paying attention to on Earth. Maybe we should be tending to, but who knows?
No, it is. We should be tending to love.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's getting to a point where if we don't have some type of love, a cosmic love, understand a love that's beyond what we can comprehend, if we don't start going that way, we're going to have problems here fitting into whatever it is coming, whatever's happening. We're going to have guests in our backyard. They might need some place to put up a tent. I don't want them coming in here and taking it from me, even though I know they could. So we have to think more of a cosmic love, like we're talking about here about the book. And it's got some good points on how we achieve this. Speak to us a little bit more about that, Rob.
How we achieve cosmic love?
Well, according to what the review of the book and how he's is bringing us to it.
Right. So after analyzing all the different examples of science fiction here and there, then he goes for a theology of the alien, is kind of what he calls it. And the alien is, of course, the other, the foreigner, the stranger, ultimately our neighbor who we encounter in everyday life and that we should love and care for. And that's the ultimate cosmic love. Starts with our neighbor. But it's with cosmic thinking, we're expanding it to everything. We're really taking in the full spiritual experience of what it means to be alive, and you feel that rush of just oneness with the universe, and that's what a spiritual experience is. So if every person can aspire to that, to flourish like that,
and here's Buddha,
then you have cosmic love.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but we have our first little shout out to Rob from Angry Hobo Man.
Okay.
So Okay.
First shout out to Big Rob. So
Yeah, we'll have to make sure he gets a T-shirt here first, as soon as we get him made up,
T-shirt. All right.
Yay! Love it. All right, cool. We have to get a cowbell or something like that. Or every
This
time.
little alarm, just the.
We need more cowbell. Just ding, ding, ding.
Ding, 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 yeah.
Every
We have
time.
So maybe next shout out we'll change seats. No. no. Yeah, but see, you know, you bring this in so personal, so close. When we need to think about our neighbors, we need to think about the alien. You know, and that's really an interesting word and how it was used in those days. And you know, the alien is exactly what it is today. It's a person who is foreign to you, don't even speak your language, don't even look like you. Man,
customs.
They're custom, man. It's like, man, you smell like garlic, man. Whoa. But you see, that's an aroma that's nice for their culture. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, shout out to the French. You're cool. So, you know, it's the culture thing. Yeah, the aliens, we got to hold them in. We got to bring them in, love them, feed them. We don't ask for no identification. No. And how do we do that? You know, how do we move that forward?
Well, it's a journey of self-transformation, I think, and just being able to live life as art. It was another point from the last podcast.
Right, that was powerful.
Yeah, it was that we're all artists of a sort, and we're devoted to this ultimate project of the progression and evolution of humanity. And that's just something to rejoice in, and that's the feeling of cosmos, of just, that's what we're trying to get at. And if you're able to live, you know, I was reading a book and it said, you know, we don't work for money, we work for the love of humanity. And that was one of these utopian societies that I've been reading about. And so that's our next podcast topic. We'll get on to utopias. Of course, it comes up with science fiction, but...
Well, I will tell you, though, I mean, if you want a utopian society, just study the Book of Acts. You know, from a Christian, you know, viewpoint, just go ahead and study the Book of Acts. And you'll see what they were talking about, how the society was supposed to be. And if we were living today like they told us to live in the Book of Acts, it'd be a lot nicer place. At least the place where they were at would be really nice.
Yeah, the Book of Acts, we brought that up last podcast. Maybe have to do a whole episode on that eventually as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's another. Okay, so let's imagine a scenario. Let's do a thought experiment.
Okay.
We're flying in a spaceship. Jeff, you want to be at the wheel? Yeah.
Sure. Hello, it's your captain.
Bring Jeff in.
Sure.
DJ Red Monster, I should say.
No, Captain Red Monster. Captain Red.
Captain Red.
Captain Red.
Fasten your seatbelt.
Go ahead. All right.
All right, so we're in a spaceship, and we happen upon a planet.
Oh, I don't want no peanuts. I'm allergic. All right. No, it's not. Go ahead. Let's do it. We're all, go ahead.
Extra peanuts for you.
Yeah, it's extra peanuts for me. Go ahead.
We happen upon a planet, and this planet is alive. It's fully conscious in its totality. And so it's one of the themes out of the Avatar movies. So if you don't know if you're an Avatar fan or how people feel about that movie, but
Now for the fans, people that are watching, clarify, because there's Avatar: The Last Airbender and Avatar: The Alien one.
Avatar the Alien one.
Okay, because you know people will get confused and be very specific on this stream, so I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
It is the Avatar: The Aliens.
The Aliens.
The Last Airbender. Sorry,
Yeah, thanks to you. Yeah, thanks for the clarification. So yeah, I mean, it's just, let me pull something out of the book. I mean, we're gonna be.
An interesting thought, though. A planet that's alive is not our planet alive.
Hey, Buddha, what do you want now?
Yeah.
So what's the scenario now for the thought thing?
That's the scenario. The planet is alive. What would be the implications of that in terms of a theology? What if everyone on the planet worships the planet as God? Of all the beings on it, worship the planet as God. Then it's alive. We've detected it's sentient.
Like the planet as a whole is its own religion. Like they like Earth is God in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I think this is more. You have to think more outside the box, more science fiction.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
And
Is that
extraterrestrial.
The planet, they must feed the planet. The planet needs to be fed, so they feed it. The planet needs to be groomed and taken care of, and the planet needs to be worshipped. So they worship that planet and treat the planet as God. And then in return, the planet gives the people that live there everything they need. They want for nothing. So,
Yeah, like
so we step foot on there, and what's the first thing we do? We build a McDonald's.
was that what we do, or is his question what will we do?
Yeah, what is the implications? How,
What is
so
their
we show up there.
what
What's
is their
going to
first
happen?
step?
What's going to happen to their theology? Are we going to go in and tell them that they're wrong? We're going to say, "Oh no, 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 no! Listen, there's your God. No, wait a minute, wait. Let me tell you about my God."
Yeah, but now there's
You know.
a perspective of
If it isn't broken, don't fix, right?
Well,
That's
If
true.
it's working for
Yeah,
them, it's
I'm-
been working for them as long as it has been. Why are you going to adjust it?
that's where I'm at with this whole thing with Mars, and I have to agree with some of the scientists that say that if they go there and they find life, then Mars belongs to the Martians, even if it's microbiotic, microbial. It's still life, so we need to back away from it and let it belong to them. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, Mars for the Martians.
Right.
But there's also the sentiment of there is no planet B. We have to tend to Earth first, and we have to take care of Earth. And we're setting up all this infrastructure for setting up another colony on another planet, but
Back infrastructure needs help.
Yeah, that's right. But you see, it's like we see that's happening, though, that it's the rich who are going to go to Mars. It is the rich. Just listening to a podcast or something today about Neil Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, he said, was talking about the first billionaire in space. And they said, bozo. I mean, yeah. And yeah, you all get used to that one. Yeah, and then he come back and said, no. There was some other billionaire who bought the first trip on a Russian spaceship. So he's already been the first billionaire in space. And so it's going to be the rich going there.
And that's where it gets into, if you go into some of the dark roots of the Russian cosmism, they had this guy, Bergnigov, I'm really mispronouncing his name, but Bergnigov or something, and they basically wanted to drink the blood to keep themselves young. And they were going to have to set up hospitals, and the guy ultimately died because he donated all of his blood and died from not having enough blood. But that's also like what the fucking Peter Thiel's doing out in California with getting the young's blood and injecting himself with that to have a longer life.
Well,
and so we have this vampire parasite rich class they're little vampire parasites at this point.
and they're real. They are real.
Those are real people.
Yeah, they think they're real. See, that's the reality. That's the reality, So who are we to say that their reality's wrong? Just because it infringes on what we believe is right. But I will tell you, as far as this blood drinking stuff, got to look back to the Chaldeans. You got to look back to the Old Testament, that when they were sacrificing babies, to their God. So this thought, but it does not bring love. It brings death. You see, it brings death, and that's something that we need to change our minds about weapons. And if we can't do that and have love. You cannot love, but who do you love? That's the whole thing. Do you love your neighbor? Do you love your God? If your God is telling you to kill your neighbor, well, then start with yourself. Because you're supposed to love your neighbor like you love yourself. If your God is telling you to love your neighbor like you say you love me, I don't know what happens. But these guys had some really deep thoughts, though, about bringing this cosmic love together. Some of them had some good points, other than drinking blood.
That was just one of the Russian cosmos.
But that's what everybody else is going to remember. They were talking about drinking blood. The Q people will love us.
Oh, yeah. We're gathering everybody. I mean, this is a wide net for, hey, join the
Cosmic Glue. Good stuff. Right. Yeah. Let's see what binds us together, other than cheese, and see where it goes. Mm-hmm. So, just doing pretty good here for our first show. Got a couple shout outs, I think. No? About 4,000 shout outs, man. We
about have like 5 viewers right now. But
5 viewers is good.
We're on Twitch, so the thing is, you got to give people time. You got to give people time to know that the channel's up. More people will come and interact. But I do have a question that could start.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe a topic or something like that. Yeah. And this has to do with portals. And since we were watching the Skinwalker Ranch last night, and it intrigued me a little bit as far as like my opinion on that show. I'm not 100% on it, but I'm going to keep the mind state that I believe what I see right now. I'm going to say that what's happening on the show is true. Based on that, if we do find a portal, if we do perhaps find a portal that we can control / manipulate, what do you think as Americans? Now, if we were to find it first, as Americans, what do you think we would do with that portal?
As Americans, the American government?
Yes.
Weaponization and.
Saying like as it couldn't be used as a weapon, saying like the portal was to your whole nother world of life. That was the gateway right there. What would we do as Americans with that?
So it would be a choice whether or not you go to the other side, and you could voluntarily go in, and there would be all kinds of science experiments. We'd have to test it, see where it goes. I don't know.
There's a fucking portal. It's an open thing though, because because in my opinion, like I would think as Americans, they would, as greedy as we are, we would probably try to capitalize onto it to where we would manipulate it into our favor, as far as like maybe once we do acknowledge the portal, the other world is like super friendly and polar opposite from us, as far as like they're saving their planet, they're working on their environment, they're eco-friendly, they're et cetera, their horizon has not been messed with, nothing like that, and we're completely opposite. Do you think we're going to taint that? Do you think we're going to torment that, as far as like start a whole new and then mess up that world because we're so stubborn as far as our ideas?
I would tend to think things are so complex. There's a multiverse and all these different timelines interacting, and ultimately it's a net zero.
Yeah.
But I do imagine that, you could start to spoil that other universe. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've heard of, like, strange theories about, like, ideas that aliens are here to intercede and project us on a particular timeline.
Right.
And so, it's ultimately a net zero. Like I said, it's so complex with all the different interactions with timelines if you were to go down that route. Yeah. But, that's my answer.
Now, if you had a choice...
Okay, so you said Americans.
Yep.
So I need to clarify Americans now. Are we speaking of the Americans who separated from England?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we talking about the Americans who fund the slaughter of children and women in other countries? Which Americans are we talking about?
Oh, the funding.
Oh, the present-day Americans.
present-day
So what would
Americans.
present-day Americans do?
Right,
correct.
So I would say, what have we done with any new land that we have discovered? We call it ours and kill everybody that's there.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's, but this one we will lose. Because if there is a portal that leads somewhere else, and if there's something coming through it, that means they know how to control it.
Right.
We don't even know what it is. So if they can do that, you can't beat somebody like that. You can't even challenge them. You can cock up and say, you know what? You know, we don't know what you're doing here. We don't like it. Help us understand it. But other than that, yeah, we just go in and destroy it.
Yeah, okay, so then to add on, specifically, if you had your choice, or if you had the final say as to what you would do with it, what would you do? Now, before answering this question, let me answer this guy's question. This is a physical portal and not a high state of consciousness.
I assume so. I assumed it was a physical to where the physical, that one dimension can interact with another dimension on the physical.
I mean, that is a good theory of high state of consciousness.
Oh, well, that would be a
That'd
spiritual
crazy.
portal. That would be spiritual
Portal, but
Yeah.
no, a physical portal
Like
would be this
DMT.
topic, yes. But if you had your say as to what you would do, what would you do?
I would guard off the portal and make sure only responsible people can go in and protect that world and be the ultimate portal environmentalist or something.
Yeah, but what would you do with the other world, though? How would you communicate? Because then, obviously, when they come in from the other side and then see you coned off the place, they're going to be like, what the fuck's going on here? You know what I'm saying? This wasn't how I left it. So how would you communicate with the other side to establish that agreement of, like, we can come and go as we please, but, like, we're here just, like, we're friendly? You know what I'm saying? Because they already know what's up with the nukes and stuff, so it's like, are you friendly? You know what I'm saying? How would you handle that?
I mean, if there's a language barrier, then just wave your arms in the right direction. You know, like just
for story's sake, everybody can speak English.
okay.
For story's sake, everybody can speak English.
Well, let's assume that if they can communicate in our language and our minds.
Yes.
Without
Either way,
verbal,
we'd still
right.
be able to understand each other.
You'd still be saying, go back.
Yeah. I would explain that we're conducting, it's been, I don't know, what's the term? It's like a World Heritage Site or something. The UN has declared it to be, sanctioned and like,
Right.
It's been.
That sounds creepy, right? If you were to talk to somebody.
Oh, why would I talk to?
Sanction what? What are you sanctioning? Like, I don't know what sanction means. Like,
I was like, hey, so don't come to this universe.
yeah.
It's probably worse in your universe.
Don't do it.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
Please and thanks.
Unless you're coming to save us.
Please and thanks. Unless you're giving us tips and tricks
Well-
to better ourselves, don't worry about it. So what would you do?
What I don't, for me, a portal. I would say that I would just watch it and not try to close it off. If I did have the power to close it off, is that what you're saying? If I had the power,
Yeah, full control.
full control of what I would do.
Also, this is a
I would-
question for chat as well. Whoever's
Yeah.
watching is
Yeah.
open to conversation.
What I would do is I would close it off. Okay, this one, hoping it would send a signal to say, "Hey, I don't want you here." Not that I don't want you here. I didn't mean to say it that way. It's just that, look,
You see how I have to word yourself.
I would just say I would close it off because I wouldn't want us to abuse it, because
Right.
that's what we're going to do.
Yep.
Now, if the portal was open and they already came through, But the question was, did we discover a portal, that was physical back and forth? So we've already had to experience something going back and forth and through. So,
and then once you gain that knowledge, what would you
once
do?
I gained that knowledge that I could use that to go back and forth, right?
And what would you do with it? As far as you have full control, there's no Bill of Rights. You have to wait for no bull crap votes or nothing.
I'm king of the portal.
Exactly. You can do whatever you want.
Yes. I control the black hole.
Yeah.
Yes. What I would do, wow.
Send a nuclear bomb through it.
See? America.
ICBM.
I think I would pretty much probably put a McDonald's right
That's an easy answer.
This is what a McDonald's next door, because they're accepted all over the world. Go to Hawaii, you can get a Spam sandwich, So, no, I wouldn't do anything.
It's tough. It's
I
kind of
would
tough
not
to think
do a
about.
single thing, because whatever created that portal is coming through that portal, whether I
There's not much you can do.
So,
So, now say somewhere in the government right now, they had that knowledge. They're hit with the same question. Now you're putting those shoes right then and there of it's hard to think about what would you do, because there's really almost unlimited.
well, as soon as you bring in the government, you've just changed the whole paradigm of love, because you cannot say our government and love within the same sentence. You can't. It's just not. It just doesn't
So
work.
I should say somebody knows and has a fidget with it that somebody's accessed this portal, that somebody's had this portal information realistically right now.
Right.
Like a scientist.
Yeah, and but it's now you've been put into the mind of the scientists of what would you do with that information? You would lose it because you don't know what to do. You wouldn't want to give it to the government because of right then and there.
Then I would keep it to myself. I would not share that information with anyone.
Yeah. But as a scientist, when you get excited over certain things that you want to share. You know what I'm saying? You just got a new toy in your hand and you want to share it with your friend. Oh my God, I just invented this.
You know what?
It's crazy.
Let me backtrack that a little bit. I'm sorry. If the person who knew it, his intent and the motive was good, then I'd probably say, okay, it's going to work itself out.
Yeah.
But if the intent was wrong, right, then I'd have to call it out. And I'd have to be the first nut to say, Dr. Bim Waba's bing lang a boom boom right on through a hole. And he's bringing back
Crazy.
all kinds of stuff, man, that don't belong here. So, and he's trying to kill people. You know what I mean? He's so I don't know, and he didn't like my McDonald's idea.
Yeah.
Feed him.
Why not burger?
If there's a portal there, this is set up a bunch of food trucks. That way they might like our food instead of coming here and eating us, like Plan 9 from outer space,
What if that was the whole opposite idea? The food trucks was actually polluting their air and stuff like that and ruining their environment.
I kind of believe that.
You're doing that as a tainted
Diesel food truck.
runoff of food.
That diesel fuel's contaminated my pork,
It's completely ruined their whole system.
Yeah. Well, we already know that they're not going to let us fool with our nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
They drew a line, and we cannot. Anybody, whether it be another source or not, whatever the source is that's bringing these, whatever it is in here and shutting our nuclear power places down, our weapons, they're in control. That's bottom line. If they're Chinese, if they're ours, if they're made in Taiwan, I don't know. But they're in control right now. And they're saying no nuclear fights, no more nuclear bombs. So,
Well, hell yeah, if they're saying no more nuclear bombs, we should get rid of nuclear weapons right away.
well, the military, their whole thing right now, evidently, is that they're invading our airspace. You know, I think the most prolific words ever spoken was in that movie with The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Right.
When the director of the world, whatever, came to him and said, "Hey, you can't. You know, this is our planet. You come to our planet. You know." And he said to him, "This is not your planet." You know. So, I know we kind of got a little off track. What kind of time check we got here? How we doing?
45 minutes in, 8:30.
Okay. Well, I think we need to, take it a few more minutes. Does anybody on there want us to keep on going, or
Get some comments, maybe?
get some comments maybe?
in there,
I mean, just for one of the two
Hey.
people that are there, we want to open this table up here.
Let's open
have a
up the
little
chat.
conversation. Yeah, talk to us. That's what it's all about. I mean, the introduction is what? Jeff, what is it? The introduction phrase? No.
It's all I see on the cameraman over
Yeah,
here.
that's right. I don't know what it says.
I'm
It says
out
something
there
about,
buying bubbles and stuff over here.
aliens and
UFOs, aliens, portals, God, question mark.
right.
Well, let's
Let's
talk
talk
about
about
it.
Let's talk about it. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about
Let's
it.
talk about it.
All right, well, let me pull out the little handy-dandy guide to the galaxy here.
I'm a wig splitter. I'm a tall figure. I'm an unforgiving wild ass dog.
I was wondering what that was.
All right.
Because it's coming out of this.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the follow, Mothman. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mothman, thank you, Mothman.
Oh, Mothman. I know Mothman.
Yeah,
There we go.
I'm a fan of Mothman.
Yeah, so Rob looks like he has something.
I mean, well, so one of the things is like, androids. It's like robots or... No, the robots potentially have robots. The AI has AI. Are we interacting with extraterrestrials or interacting with AI? And what is all these different layers of... Is it just a strict hierarchy? Or I don't know. That's a question that I have.
Like,
We did a deep dive into a lady that was kind of doing the typography of different aliens and the different species and
yeah, but let's talk about what we watched last night.
yeah, we saw it yesterday.
Yeah, a little bit of that.
But,
yeah.
So, from an outsider looking in, because again, I did not read the book, and I feel like my opinion here is someone that doesn't. It's not an everyday Joe about like UFOs and doesn't inform herself. I'm ignorant to the whole topic, but I want to put logic. My opinion is logic into
Please
it.
do.
You know what I'm saying?
Please do.
Yeah. We need a bullshit meter.
So what I got from that yesterday, and it's crazy to like say, is the robots are basically Asian or Chinese.
That's how she described it.
That's exactly what she described. And then she goes on to describing black people and how they're like partially AI as well. And I'm just like, wow. And then I remember you hit me with a question the other day. Where did the Asian community or Chinese community come from?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't do I didn't do deep into research, but
Googled it.
it's a little Google.
Right.
But the thing is, they're actually from sand territory. They're from sand territory. To where, and this is weird because I actually figured out the whole genetics and stuff like that as to why. And this sounds weird, but as to why that their eyes are slightly closed is because they were so used to squinting with the sand and stuff like that that their genetics morphed into, because if you hold a position in your body and you hold a position for so long, it's going to morph it. So that their slants are actually to protect them from the sand. And if you ever go to that side of the country, it's quite windy and it's quite like hazardous over there where things can get to your eyes. So their natural environment, it's like a product of your environment.
But see, that's not the subject. I mean, that's not the thing
that's
of where. Okay, so what? They grew out of the sand.
I mean,
Did they morph out of the sand? I mean, so
that one guy.
that's what I'm trying
I
to say.
think any kind of racialization of human race is wrong, and I think that's...
Oh, wait, we're not talking about humans. We're talking about AIs and ETs.
Yeah, I'm just trying to stay on the subject.
Right.
If we're going to say AI or Asians, and then I'm going to correlate.
We're going to
question
discredit
as to
that
where-
lady.
Yeah, I'm gonna say like where are Asians coming from. I'm gonna combine. If you're gonna think Asians are AI, I'm gonna combine that question as to where did Asians come from, because then if they are AI, where did they come from?
Well, okay, so we have to look at what's being taught.
Well, I don't think Asians are AI. I think we can rule that one out.
Well, whatever the characteristics that the lady was specific about her characteristics.
She said that some of the alien species presented as an Asian human being.
Correct. Yeah.
So they they were sometimes could be mistaken for, but that was how they presented with
Right.
Asian characteristics.
Correct.
And so, yeah, if she started racializing the aliens and started saying, I think that's the wrong perspective.
Yeah.
And you might have to discredit her on that one.
Well, but you got to remember the context of what they were speaking to, and who was speaking. It was Sherman, who were the whistleblowers who were reading the documents. When they were trying to describe to other people who had never seen anything like this before what they looked like. So and you got to remember, sometimes it's a whole goldfish quandrum, you know. So how do you explain that? So they say they just looked Asian-like. It wasn't her saying this. This was Sherman, the people who was reading the documents.
Yeah.
You know, from the Eisenhower time. You know, so
well, then they also say they have a Nordic race of blonde aliens
right.
that are Nordic appearing, Nordic presenting.
appearing. Right.
But they are supposedly an alien race.
Exactly. So we're back about droids, and let's just think about droids and what we got going on right now. So we have our droid, what's her name, Sophia,
yeah, a Saudi Arabian citizen.
who is now a full-blown citizen of
A nation state.
yeah, you know, a robot. So that's a droid. You know, we have plenty of droids who are doing.
But she was
their
built
jobs.
in Hong Kong.
Yeah, she was built in Hong Kong, right?
By that like mad scientist, AI scientist who seems like an incredible intellectual.
Oh, he's a genius. Yeah. I can't
You
remember.
can't comprehend. He also wrote a book about cosmism. He has a text on cosmism. We'll have them review that in sometime in the future.
Maybe we can get him on the show. You know?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, you know, that could happen. So we look at AIs and what they're doing. We have them here. We have the robots and that give out medicines in hospitals. We have AIs that do different things, moving pallets, and they're just programmed to do that. That's the robots. Then we have artificial intelligence robots that interact with us. We have robots that do surgery controlled by a doctor. So it's here. We have computer chips that repair themselves. We have 3D printers that can print guns.
Okay, for chips, I recommend cancer.
Okay, all right, computer, computer, shut up, please, just shut up.
People talk about AI.
Yeah. Well,
Kale chips?
Yeah, kale chips.
Chips anymore?
Yeah. I don't call it Alexa. I don't call it anything else. You know, I don't want a personal relationship with it because it gets on my nerves. You know, got a mind of its own. So yeah, it's here. I mean, just think about it. But our topic, though, and we really need to get back to it, is love. How do we, in the midst of all this, learn to love each other more? How do we, and it starts with forgiveness. If you do not have any harbor of unforgiveness in your heart, then you just have no room for love. And that's the most important parts and sections of your mind that should be obsessed with love instead of obsessed with harboring ill feelings. You know, and that's what Emmanuel said. You know, that's what he came here to say.
Love. That's what all the great prophets and messengers and, you know, religious leaders have taught us about love, and yet we still can't get it through our thick skulls about.
Well, and that's because we're selfish. I mean, it's just it's all about us and what we want, and that gets in our way. You know, these philosophers, these great deep thinkers, they were thinking beyond that. You know, they're thinking beyond the self, to lose the self. And if you look at all the great religions, the center of them is meditation, finding the self within, then discovering love. Right? Now you bring that into Christianity, and that's a foreign concept. You know, because within the Christian concept, it's you bring Jesus into your heart, which will bring out the love of Jesus to people, right? Well, it seems like it's hard to do, you know, because you got to give up yourself altogether and replace it with that mindset of love, you know. And compassion and consideration. We're not going to be able to move on to any other type of galactic. We can't. We don't even have fucking global love right now.
Right.
You know, we don't even have a global love.
We're not even love in America. Let's start with just one. You know.
Yeah. If we just
country at a time.
What is dividing?
We don't have our solar system yet. You know? One love in the solar system.
One love in the solar system. I mean, you know. What do you know? You still, if we think that we are by ourselves in this great universe, and that if God just created us, it's real selfish.
Sorry, I have a comment.
Go ahead,
from
man. Yeah.
Angry Hobo Man.
Angry Hobo.
He said, "We are a love experiment made by the aliens. They're slowly teaching us how to love."
You know, you're right on. You are exactly right. You are totally right. You know, they are teaching us these things. We are at the cusp of doom as a human race. We are about ready to totally destroy this planet beyond repair. And I do believe, Angry Hobo Man.
Yes, Angry Hobo Man.
That we're not done killing each other yet, and they realize that. They know that, but yet they're more worried about our planet, because we may kill each other off, but this planet will continue to live on, and they'll make sure of that.
Because if every person makes it their part of their life to embrace a higher consciousness, to embrace raising their consciousness, that drop in the ocean does ripple. And so we have the ripple effect that we're trying to start here. And, you know, all of our listeners, just we're having a conversation about, you know, what it means to be alive, what it means to love. And I think that's an important thing to have with any human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do we stay on the same path? That's not a question. I'm just putting that in there. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, how do we stay on the path?
We got to keep each other on the same path.
Well, that comes back down to pride. You know, the Bible here talks about as iron sharpens iron. Okay. That's what happens. You can take two knives and sharpen each other with them. But you know what? It's like, I'm too fragile. I don't want you to hold me accountable for anything. I don't want you pointing out my stuff, man. You know, come on, you got your own shit you got to take care of, you know. But see, it's not. You know, I've tried to see older in my life is that when somebody says, "Man, you're a fucking asshole." Well, and it happened right here at this table, right? I said, you know what? You're right. You're right. You know, and then I start to understand. I want to understand, why did you think I'm an asshole? Because if you think I'm an asshole, then my perception of myself is wrong. You know? So if I'm coming to you and saying, holding you accountable for stuff, you don't like it. So that's what the problem is. Is that aliens moving in?
The whole splinter in your eyelid.
Yeah. The whole thing with that is, it's never finished. It's never. They always say, you know, he starts off by saying, you know, judge not lest you be judged. By the same measure you'll be judged. You know, and then he talks about the plank in your eye. He says, look, you know, how can you talk about a person's, you know, speck in their eye when you got a plank in your eye? Then he finishes it up by saying, once you get that plank out your eye, then you can help your brother get that speck out of his eye. You see? So you don't follow it up. It's okay, so now, like, I know how not to shoot dope no more. Okay? I know. So I can go to somebody else who's still shooting dope and not judge them, but I can hold them accountable for what they're doing. You know? As long as I do it in love, I can say, this is wrong. Because I'm clean. I've got that plank out of my eye. Right. But see, people say,
reparative process.
Yeah. You
self-repair becomes communal repair.
Repair of others.
Repair of others, yeah.
And see, so that's the mindset of love. If you know, somebody comes to me and says, you know, Jay, you know, you're starting to, you know, act weird, or, you know, or these things you're saying is not right. I mean, I just experienced that too. And I have to be willing to say, well, tell me, you know, what the offense is. Help me understand me, that I'm not showing love. And but how many people are willing to do that? You know?
Stand to account.
Right. Stand up and be accountable. And say, you know what? Let me take all my clothes off. You sure you got a dick? That's a joke. I know.
Reel it in,
Yeah, I'll reel it in. Okay, reel it in. So, how do we get this? How do we be a cosmic citizen? How do we start thinking on a cosmic level when we can't even think on a global level? We can't think on a community level. You know, we're more worried about stopping people from coming in to our neighborhoods. We don't want people moving into our neighborhood. We don't want new housing. We don't want these people coming from other countries into our border, into our house.
We don't like change.
Huh?
We don't like change.
We don't like change, and we think this is ours. You know, why do you have deer in your neighborhood? The deer in your neighborhood is, what? This is their area. This is their home. This is their territory. This was their territory before we built houses here. But, you know, we got to get past that, and we got to look at each other and just look at each other and say how much we're alike. You know, if we start looking at what we like this here was talking about, this cosmic citizenship. If I don't accept your culture, if I don't accept and embrace that you are this culture, then forever I'll be us and them, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about breaking down us and them, like you said, and cosmic citizenship is a way out of that dynamic. Cosmic encapsulates everything, and as the Greek philosopher said, I am a citizen of the cosmos, Diogenes, and you know, it got construed to be the world that he was referred to, but you know, take it to be all of existence, all of the universe, all of the cosmos, and then you're really thinking on another level, and that's what it calls for. We're in a rut in terms of things. I mean, we do have a lot of solutions at hand, but we just all have to focus our energy on that, and we'll get out of it. But focusing on the solutions is the answer. And that's going to be through loving your neighbor and, appealing to a higher sense of being.
And that's tough when our mindset is that if a neighbor had cut a person's lawn, just hacked it a little bit too close, and then the neighbor goes over to his house and they get into an argument and the neighbor kills him over it, well, that mindset right there is what we're fighting against.
You're referring to that video?
Yeah, the
guy actually shooting the dude over the cut grass?
Yeah.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, and the dude pulled him around to the side of the house where he knew there wasn't no cameras. So, it's this mindset.
Yeah, all over just some cut grass. That was just, he was unhappy about it.
Yeah, so us and them, if you think, never think yourself above anyone or anything, because the moment you do, you separate yourself from yourself, and you separate yourself from love. I mean, we look at what Jesus had says, and all the great leaders and all the great religious leaders, it's all about giving yourself away in love. Gandhi, Buddha, we need to strive towards love. So,
to bring it back to science fiction and theology, what do you think of the spiritual belief that there's a set of ascended masters, like we were mentioning all these different prophets and ascended masters and Buddha and all these different people that have lived on the earth, and written the Tao Te Ching, or whether it be the whatever holy book, are they part of a caste or a class of ascended masters that are overlooking the earth and its progress? Or do you think that creates some kind of, spiritual hierarchy? Or should you just appeal to God? Or do you think that there is a class of ascended masters? It's a belief of theosophy specifically as well. But
that's discussed in many religions. If we look at Christianity, we have the Watchers. Okay, so who are the Watchers? And they watch over us, and guide us. Who is the wise counsel in the book of Revelations? Who are those who are held up at high, who look down and judge? Who are the wise counsel who step in? Who are the prophets that put hands on, do miracles, floating head axes, and fire from the sky? They're here to guide us. So to do that, they're both in that scripture, but you ultimately answer to God. You ultimately talk to God. So I guess I was kind of down the middle on that one.
Are they just do you think they're just another layer under the angels? Or
well, if we look at the concept of the military as Jehovah, as a warrior, in the beginning he's the same as he is in the end. So in Revelations he comes back as a warrior. The angels have classifications. They have different jobs. The cherubs, they all have different levels and status of what they do, like the military, So there is a hierarchy. There's strictly a hierarchy. But evidently that Jesus, in his description, says you no longer need to go to any of these other people. You can come right to me and speak right to me. And as far as all this other stuff goes, all the battles, the vengeance, anger, leave it alone, leave it sit here, right? Let me take care of it. All you need to do now is love your neighbor like you love me. How hard is that to do? Seems pretty hard. But no, is there a hierarchy? Yeah.
Well, what do you think about ideas about like spiritual democracy, or there being some kind of egalitarianism amongst the souls, or that there's
Egalitarianism? Is that like a
egalitarianism?
Oh, I saw like
Equality?
a gallery of pictures and stuff like
No,
that.
no.
Yeah, equality.
Yeah. Equality of all souls or something. I don't know. We're getting into some different
Yeah.
theological ploys here.
Equal souls. Well, I think that if we looked at scriptures, we have to question, what is a soul?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the angels came down and had sex with the women, and they had children, well, where's that soul? Okay. What is the soul? Now we're getting into the mind-brain quandrum, you know. So the soul, I think, can be achieved because of the spirit. And the Christian belief is that you welcome the spirit into your body, that now you're the dwelling of your body, your temple, is now a Holy Spirit. And you strive to keep that Holy Spirit until you meet your judgment. So equality in spirits, you got good spirits and bad spirits. That's all there is to it. Really, there's only happy spirits and unhappy spirits, if you really want to think about it, just like people.
So souls, lost my point here.
Well, it's equality in souls, you know.
Well, if you look at another example brings up is that Gnosticism has a lot of rings, a lot of different tie-ins with theology and science fiction. And that teaches that we all have a divine spark, and that is in communication, with God, and that is a calling home of all souls, I think. Ultimately, is that's the grand picture, the grand plan, in terms of ideas about universal salvation. And I think that's what we all need to strive for in our theologies, but also in this everyday love that we're talking about in terms of cosmic love for your neighbor and everything, universal emancipation, universal liberation for every human being. That's what we have to have with every breath, is that kind of mindset, and that's what's going to bring us out of, a mini dark age.
Well, I really don't. Mini dark ages, like mini donuts, I don't know. Maybe small.
I think it's fun.
No, a dark age is just dark. Come on.
It's a mini dark age.
I like your optimism. I surely do. I do. Yeah. It's this mindset. I mean, until we set aside, all of this. The Muslims, the Christians, the Jews, the Buddhists. I mean, when we set this aside and say, look, wait a minute, are you love? Are you about love? Then let's just worship. I worship my God. You worship your God. Let's worship our gods together. In love, and let them sort it out. You know what I'm saying? Let them sort it out, I don't want to be coming telling you that my God's going to kick your God's ass. No, but he will.
They are saying that.
That's what I'm saying. They are saying that. Yeah. So, I think it's been a really good show. I think that what we hear been an hour.
We're cutting out already?
Hour and 15?
Hour 15. Yeah, I think it's time to wrap this
How
up.
do we deal with
I think how you should go about is I want you to talk about your podcast. Say that you're going to be doing another production next week. Also, tell them what topic are you going to be talking about next week. What to look forward to in case any viewers want to read up on something or to research something so that you get more indulged in the chat next week.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thanks. And that's why we hired him. I told him he was going to get a little something extra in his paycheck this week.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Next week, we're talking about utopian societies. I'll be always become from a biblical point of view, but I surely do understand and accept that there is other creatures among us, and that were created by God. But I guess for the studying up for me would be just familiarize yourself with the Book of Acts and when they brought together the first church and how they were telling everybody to treat each other and how to take care of each other as a church family. Very, very utopian. Beautiful way to live if just nobody wanted to be in charge. So, but that's what, he's reviewed, far as that part that's in this book here about the utopian society, right?
Yeah, there's a bit about the common theme. Yeah,
if anybody wants to get a hold of the book, Theology and Science Fiction by James McGarth. You can tell us a little bit about the reporter, about him, about the...
By McGrath.
Yeah.
I don't know too much about him other than he's a professor, I believe, of some sort of theological studies. But definitely check him out. He's got a lot of great podcast appearances, a lot of great books. James F. McGrath, great writer, and he's got a really concise book here in this theology and science fiction book. But yeah, our next episode's on utopias. We're going to be talking about utopian dreaming. That's what is an ultimate goal of ours, but also that tension between we're on the edge of dystopia and utopia. Can these two coexist in some fashion? Or are they going to be like we'll introduce that dynamic as well? So get to reading and
yeah. It's going to be an interesting discussion. I appreciate all y'all who came in tonight and stopped by and took a look. I really appreciate everyone.
Now you have to promote yourself. Promote yourself.
Yeah, see now this.
So okay, they're tuning in, but what are they tuning in to?
Oh yeah.
And when are they tuning in? What is the name of the podcast?
Podcast is Cosmic Glue.
Right.
Tune in next Friday.
Next Friday.
At around 7 p.m., I believe.
Yeah. It's cosmic time.
Cosmic time.
And
what is time?
Yeah, what is time? Yeah, don't get me started on time.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about time travel. That was a whole theme in this book.
Yeah, and as far as time travel goes and loopholes and wormholes, I suggest you read about the eunuch and the baptism in the Book of Acts, and tell me if he didn't go through some type of wormhole or something after the baptism. So anyway.
Yeah, also this, I guess, let us know in, the comments and also Twitter. Shout out to your social medias. Where can they follow you at?
Facebook.
Facebook?
Yeah.
What are they Facebooking?
Jay
Open
Hutchison.
Facebook.
Just open
Facebook. I'll be there, right? Okay.
I will be there. Constantly in my mind.
Facebooking.
Yeah, Jay Hutchison on Facebook.
It should be there right below where he's at.
Yeah.
And then shout yourself
out. You can find me at Rob Not Bob 22. Yeah. Cosmo Rob, also known as my heading there.
All right. Yeah, it's all trial run. We're trying to get this.
Yeah, we're trying to get this started. Yeah.
Let us know if you would like to see video and audio, or just audio. Just trying things out. But we're
or subject matter that you think you might be interested in. We do have a few other ones that will step outside of our talks on a cosmic oneness, a cosmic love that we need to have each other. One thing I can say that did help some type of cosmic love is this during this pandemic is that we all got to look into each other's eyes as we talked. You know, we actually had to make eye contact. And then, you know, for me, the downside of the end of this so-called mask wearing and everything is that I realized that every morning I got to start brushing my teeth.
That's true. That's true.
Thank you. I appreciate. Much love.
Much love. Peace.
Peace. God bless.